Now, my next picture in the Draw It Easy range is this one. Very attractive picture, which we're going to do freehand. We're not going to draw it out ahead of time. So let's just start the ball rolling by putting, this doesn't have to follow this at all. You can do your own thing. But what I'm going to do is probably use my darker green here, just to put a line across there representing that. And probably a good idea, be quite light with this because we can put colours on it. Just to say, it doesn't have to be the same, as I said. Now up here, this is interesting. I'm going to use a 2p piece. Now this is a UK coin, but you've got one similar. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw around with this. This is the 189 in, not 189, 186, sorry, in Faber. Now the idea of that is put that in there, and we're going to draw the inside there, and we're going to put the yellow, and this is 102. You want to go right up to close to that line, but because we're going to use that in the colour here, it's going to be, we're not going to have to worry about any graphite lines. So that goes round and fill it in. Very pretty colour. This is not quite the same as that, but it's going to be show up nicely. Now what I would do here is, if you can't use your finger to blend this, I'd use a colour shaper, one of these. Well, colour shaper, I call it a colour shaper. It's a cotton bud, as you probably recognise. I would use ordinarily a colour shaper if I was doing it on my own work, but you don't want to go to the expense of that. This is what I would use normally, or even a paper blender, but you don't want to go to that expense when you're starting out. Right, that works for me. Now, the same thing here, we've got to draw these in, and again, I'd use the same colour, the 186. What I would do there is be quite light with it, break it down, and then come up to about that, which would be good. Now, what I want to do, I'm thinking of going into that sun. Good idea here is just to rub a little bit of that off the bottom. One of the great things about pastel pencils, you can rub it out. Let's take the bottom half of that off, and we'll come in with like that, because I think it's quite attractive, that. There we are, like that. All right. And now we want to do the sky. What I would do with the sky is I'd use the same colour we've used there. I'm not going to take up valuable video time. I just want to start the ball rolling and show you how I'm going to be doing it. So that's going to go all around there, and I'm going to be very careful when it comes round here, although it's not critically important that if you go over the top, it doesn't matter, does it? But as long as you keep that orangey outline, because that's going to be critical on our next stage. So I'm going to fill that in. There we are, that's filled in. Use your finger to blend it. Again, at this stage, it doesn't matter if you go over the top. It might be a good idea to do that, as long as you've got the outline there. Now, on top of that, we want the same colour. This time, I'll be a little bit more careful with it. See, I like the streaks in there, so what I would do is try to retain some of them. It's a little lighter down here, and all you do really is just ease the pressure on your pastel pencil. I want it quite dark up there. I'll just do this end, and then you can see what I'm trying to say. And again, it doesn't matter if you go over the top, because we're going to be making this darker. And blend it again. It'll blend nicely into that base colour we've put on there, this yellow. So that is going to go all over. But as I said, it's Well, don't worry about that. Let's put it all over, because I think we're going to use the red in a minute, and that could give us the. Now, when you get round to there, this is where we've got to be just a bit more careful. This is what I would do. Like that. And then with your finger, or you could use a cotton border if you want, but it won't matter because we're going to come back in here with the yellow again to bring that back. Got it? So let me do that, and then come back and we'll look at the next one, which is going to be great. This is a red, which is going to look really good on that. Well, that's the 186 put in now. I'm going round. I've gone round that side, going round the other side with the red. This is 118 in Faber. What I'm going to do this time is put the red in. As close as you can, but you don't really want to touch that yellow some if you can help it. And as close as you can. I'll just do this bit so you can see how I'm coping with it. And up to here as well. Again, be very careful. And here, from here you can be a bit ambitious now. We can spread it across. But what I'm going to show you in a minute is interesting, because if you use the yellow to come back in here, I'll do one little strip and then you can see what I'm saying. Because the wonderful thing about the pastel pencil is they blend into each other so well. Like that. Now, if we just turn this round the other way for a minute so I can show you. Use your finger like that. Now, be careful, Colin. A bit close to that edge there, but surprisingly close you can get with that, like that. Now, I'll just do the top bit so I can explain to you. That's pretty close, isn't it? But if you bring the yellow back again now, on top of it, you can get that streak in there, which is rather pretty, isn't it? And here you can just pick up any stray little bits of red that's going in. Now, you can't do this with paint very easy unless you're using acrylic. Like that. So, looking good, isn't it? So that's what I'm going to be doing. So you can leave this with me. Probably a good idea here is to be just a little bit more brutal with your red. Come down here so that we've got not so much there, because I think that would look nice if we faded that like it is here. Like that. And keep it a little light. Well, let me show you that too. Again, I don't mind this being a bit streaky. It's going to look good if we do. But as you come down, come just a little bit like that. I don't think there's any reason why we can't put that back either. Which is one. It's just a little bit orangey. This is, which is quite nice with it. Let's see what that looks like. Turn it round again, because that way you can get this very attractive blend with your finger. Close as you can get it with your finger. I might as well show you this now. And then bring back the yellow. Like that. Anything you feel you can use the cotton bud for, if you want to just add a bit more. Don't worry about that little bit. I'll show you. You see how I did that before. And do that again. The yellow. A bit more forceful now. Come from there. There you go. That's lovely. Now I'll just touch that up, then I'll do the other side, and then we'll move on to the next bit, which will be the hills behind. There you go. Pretty. Now this next little bit here, same idea again, but what we want to do is make it a little stronger. Now you know, see how strong that is. Well, if we were to come down like that and then blend this at this stage, it's going to keep it nice and light. But up here we put the red in directly onto the paper, which will give you a much stronger look as you come down here. Weaken it. I'll show you how that's going to work. Put the red. Make sure you do fill the tooth up, the tooth on this paper. Keep going until you fill it up like that. Okay, and then as you come down here, we can be, it's a little bit lighter, and it can be blended very subtly, like that. Now I'm going to do all of that, so you can see how that's going to actually turn out. If you want to get rid of the dust, but I wouldn't get rid of it altogether, is tap, so it comes down, and then you can use your cotton bud just to touch the bit up, and then come down here. That can also act as a blender. Blow the dust away there because you don't want it to interfere. See how nice that looks? We can always come back in again if you want to. You can titivate it a bit by putting a little bit more light in. Like that. Touch with your finger, and there you go. Anyway, I'm going to do all of that. It's also light here, so again, it's not a bad idea to keep it more or less as you see it there. And by putting the base colour underneath there, when the red goes on top of it, it won't be quite so strong, except when you want it to be strong, which is here. And I've also used this one too, which is 187. Those two colours are as close as I can get to that. And we've got to be careful here, because what we're going to do eventually is get to that tree, and what we don't want to do with the tree is make it too dark underneath it. It's all right here because nothing's going on top, but when you come to the tree, it is. But we're going to finish that off, and then I'm going to do this blue at the bottom. So let me do that. Watch me as I do. I'll show you little bits of that as we go along. Now we're going to jump down the bottom. This is light grey. This is 230 grey. And we want to come up to about there. Eventually we'll put these two colours together. You've got to be mindful that if you put too much pastel underneath it, when you try to put these dark colours on, it's not going to work. So this 230 comes up to about 2/3 of the way up, like that. Blend it with your finger. If you've got another finger, like that one, use that, because we don't particularly want orange on there, particularly at the moment. Now that's close to that colour, as close as I'm going to get anyway. And the other colour I've used here is this one, which is 143. You can see it's a little bit patchy, so we can follow this as close as we can. Put a little bit on top of it. Again, not too much. Once that tree goes on here, it's going to look great. Blend this with your finger, again using the same finger. That's pretty good, pretty close to it. I'm going to make it just a little stronger in places. You're never going to be able to reproduce it exactly the same, but we can get close. There we are, just blend that. And then you come back in with the grey, just as we did with the yellow. And that's, as I said, that's as close as we're going to be able to get to it. Now I'm going to put that a little bit up there, because now I want to do this bit. And this is, as I said, you want to be a little bit careful, because this is going to be, and we're going to put this dark colour on top of that in a minute or two, which won't be very long. So let's do that. Now what I'm doing here is I'm going to put a little bit of the yellow on, but I'm going to be careful now not to make it too much like I did with that. Put a bit of the yellow on, blend it with your finger. That isn't very much at all. Don't worry the fact you've got grey on there at all. Okay, and now we're going to bring down the, this time I'm using 187 as opposed to the red, as it's more that colour, you see. Now I'm going to do a little bit, then I'll break off and leave it, but what we want to do is blend this in. Be quite brutal with your, press quite hard with your finger on this. A little bit of red as well. Okay, now I'm going to follow my way all the way down there until we meet the grey, and it'll look a little bit like that. Let me just show you that too before I leave. It's more like that here, because we've got just a little bit of that. I'm going to bring the tree across there. As it comes down here, we fade it, just as I showed you up top. Use your finger. And that's as close as I can get to that. That's what I've got, but we haven't put enough, we haven't put too much pastel on there, which means that when I come to put the tree in, which will be those two colours, that's it, 175 and 165, and that will put the tree on top of there. Look great when it's done though. So let me just finish that off the way I started it. And what I'll do with this, just to show you this, is just this edge. You turn it around, make sure that it's just a little less fuzzy. Bring your yellow back in again, like that. So we get that kind of thing. Got it? Well, that is fine. Have I got it? We can touch up later once we've got the tree in, but once that tree is in there, we can do all sorts of things, like bring back a little bit of this. This time we don't want to, in fact, probably a good idea is to use your cotton bud here rather than your finger. Like that. And I think we're ready, really, for the tree now. Now, this is probably the most difficult part of this. I'm using 175. I'm going to start by putting just a little bit of colour in there like that. Now this is, I'm going to sharpen this up because it's a little bit blunt, but I'm just going to start the ball rolling for you. And we want to come off of there, that one. And I'm going to sharpen it, and we'll get a nice sharp come. I don't want to come all the way. What I'm doing is going so far, and then we're going to have the 165 taking over from there. Okay, but let me get that first of all started with a nice sharp 175. Well, I've got my very sharp 175, and we're going to come up here, and then it will disappear. Just make it just a little thicker than that, but not much. There's one, and the other one comes up like that, and then it splinters off into like that. And this one can come off there and come up there like that. And you're going to find this quite hard, but don't panic. Just as you come along, you just let the pencil do its own thing, and you'll find it almost naturally splinters off into branches like that. Let's put another one coming out of here. That's nice, and keep it fairly thick at this stage because you don't want too spindly a tree. And then we'll come off here with another one and let that filter through. And I really wouldn't do too many more. I just put a few more in. Like that. I think, and then we're going to have the 165. Now 165 is a very dark green, and we'd start off by putting a little bit in like that. What we want to do is bring it down. Like that. Now, you might ask me, can I put some more branches in? You can. You've got the main ones in, but you can always put more in later. Let's just finish this little bit off. What you don't want to do is make it too regular. Come out a little bit like that. And then you don't want too much of a line when it comes to here. Twiddle the pencil. Now when you get so far, let me just, in fact I'll do a little more and then I'll show you what I mean. You can then bring the 175 back, but I think it's a bit early yet. But what we want to do is probably a good idea is just to give yourself a few little points so that you can know where you're going to come out. Remember I said I want to bring this tree over that area. I don't like the idea of that running down there. So this would be, and same over here. And then come down here. And this is going to come out. We're going to have some leafage down here. And so on. Anyway, I'm going to fiddle about with that, and you can watch me as I start filling this up. It does take a little time, so I don't want to spend too much video time on. But you'll get an idea. I'll just give you an idea of what's going to happen. 175 can go in and deepen some of those branches, see, a bit like that. This is coming on very well, but as you can see, you want to leave some of the light. It won't be the same as that because we haven't got quite the same colour, but you've still got the light coming through, which is the important thing. So you could go merrily along your way and end up with a solid tree. So I keep an eye on what I'm looking at, and we can then literally design our own tree. There's quite a lot of dark in here, so I'm just going to concentrate on that just for a moment. But again, don't overdo it. This works out really well. It's when you're using the 175. Now, I've already done that once, but I'm going to do it again, just to fill in just a little bit more. You can see here we've got a lot of dark, but we've still got places like here where we want to see some light through it, like that. Okay, so I'm going to carry on, and I'll show you again. I'll show you the bits as we go along here, but we're more than halfway now. Well, there we are. I think that will do fine. Now we've got these grasses to do. What I would suggest you do here is we start with here, and I'm using 165 again, which I use for here, and I'll do a little bit and show you how we go. We can be fairly solid up to there, and you want to make it solid there because we want to, well, I'll say solid, no, maybe not, because it looks as though there's a little bit of light green coming in, and let's just make sure. This would be the lighter green we're going to use. Yes, that's a nice idea, so let's do it like that. Like that, okay. So this is going to say this bit is solid up to here. Now I'll do just this first little bit. There's our line that we were going to follow, and work in the direction that we see these grasses, like that. Okay, we'll go so far, then I can show the next bit. I want to be fairly solid. And what we could do here, I think is a good idea, to put the lighter green into it. I do it this way around. Start with the darker green and put the lighter green in. Fill up any little holes you can see. Probably best to blow that dust away. And then we've got a dark area which comes in 175 again. We can put that in as well. Same idea again, make it fairly solid, like that. Okay, so that's fairly straightforward. And this isn't, but what we do is much like we did with the tree. We can just extend it a little bit. Don't do them all the same. I think probably as far as there would be nice. Okay, and we can again use a little bit of lighter green as well on here. So I'm going to work my way across there, doing exactly that, and we'll see what it looks like at the end. And I think what we can do as well here is we can put some other grasses like that. Makes it look a little bit more natural. So follow me as I go along there. I'll show you little bits as I move along. Oh, there we are. Now that's rather nice, isn't it? Like that. What you could do, you can see that's dirty. Well, what I've done is I've just blended that a little, just to smooth it in so you don't get any of the paper showing through. Can't do it with that. Well, you can, but it's risky. I wouldn't. I'd leave that alone because I think that's perfectly okay as it is. A couple of little things I did notice in here. We had just a little bit of colour, so I'm just going to put a little bit of colour in. It's always nice to have variations, and I usually try to put a bit of ochre in my work. This is the 187 which I've used. Not a lot, is it? It's not very, but I think that looks nice. Now, this final little bit, well, this is easier than you think. What we do, use the light green here and go along like this, following the same idea. In fact, what is a good idea, don't actually draw on here, but try to get the idea of how that is actually forming. See what I mean? Don't worry too much about leaving little gaps, about the paper coming through. That's okay. I'll do a little bit of, let's say, here, and then I can show you how to sort of finish it off. I usually say when I'm working, you work in the direction of the fur, you work in the direction of the hair, and you work in the direction of the leaves or the grasses or whatever. With the pastel pencil, it allows you to do this. Right, okay, so far along there, good. Come back with your 165 again. This time it's the reverse of this. We're putting the dark into the light. And you can see how good that is. Just do a little bit more. I usually try to make the bottom of a picture just a little bit stronger, a bit darker. It gives it a bit of weight there. And I'm going to put a bit of dark 175 in there in a minute. Like that. You can come back in with the green as well, just to fill it up a little bit more, so you don't get any gaps. And again, I think it's a nice idea to put just a little bit of ochre in as well. Like that. And finally, 175, which is, because you've got all these other colours in here, it's not going to appear that dark, because it is with the toe, like that. And again, I'm going to work my way all the way along there, and then we're finished. We're almost finished. A few more strokes. There we are. Now, I've also added the green again, 170, to put just to fill up a little bit more of the pastel paper. And I've also added this one, which we used for the sun, and that's some yellow, so we can put a bit of that colour in as well. Here and there, I'd have to go everywhere. And the other colour I put in is this one, which is 186, and that can be put in again here and there. This has got some brown along the top. Well, I haven't got brown, but we can use this colour if we want to repeat something like that. And then finally, I think we'll put just a little of the 175 in, which we put up in this corner. Again, be sparing with this. We just want just a little bit of depth here and there. but I wouldn't overdo it. I'd leave it at that. There we are. Now that's really, really interesting. There's one other small thing which I'm going to show you. You don't have to do this, you could leave that because I think it's a lovely little picture. But you see we've got here here, on there, we've got kind of a little bit of grey, bluey look. Well, we can do that, folks. Look, this is the 149 which we use down here. If we put, you've got to be careful, don't put too much in. Just a little bit of that, like that. And you'll see that it's going to turn out the same colour as that. Some on the other side, well, I think it's quite nice to have so little. Now, on top of that, I'm going to use the 187 to blend that. It's really, you're using it as a to blend it in. And then finally, we want, there we are, this one. And I think we'll use that cotton bud to blend that in. And you can see now that's the very, very similar colour. As I say, you don't have to use it, you don't have to do it. And put a bit of red in there as well, I think. But it does look rather nice when you can copy a picture, which we've got here, which is a very nice picture. There we are. I'm very pleased with it. I hope that you enjoyed that. It's been great fun. And we've got more coming using probably not another coin, but you never know, do you? So there we are. I look forward to seeing you again on another one very, very soon. Bye for now.